Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the VYPEU Podcast. We've got a new crew. I'm still here, Will Turboff, back here at the VYPEU Podcast, joined once again by Ella Hestand, and for the first time ever, by Tomball's Ashton Lux. Ashton, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you on.
Thanks, Will. I really appreciate it. It's going to be my first year with VYPEU. Obviously, I did some stuff with y'all over the summer, but this will be my first official school year doing some stuff with y'all, and I'm just really excited to be here. I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I mean, we're with Robert and Tinley now off to college. We knew we were going to have a new crew this year. It's going to be a really exciting show. We're going to be a lot more story-based, get in a lot of big interviews. We have a big interview today as well, so we're excited for all of you to see that. And Ella, welcome back. Like I said, how are you feeling about this year, and what have you been up to since the last time we saw you?
I'm really excited to be back. I think it's going to be a really fun year. There's a lot of great athletes returning and a bunch of new talent on the scene that we get to cover. You know, this summer I focused a lot on volleyball because I'm a varsity player at Shadow Creek. And in June, I actually got the chance to go to the College World Series to see some great baseball being played. That was a great experience to see all of that. But I'm excited to get back with VYPE and get this podcast going.
Yeah, I mean, Season 2, we're here. We're ready for just another great season, and let's go ahead and jump into it. It was an extremely busy summer in amateur sports. That's how we're really going to describe this in the next few weeks, because there's some guys in the class of 2022, more specifically, some of the top guys in the state of Texas are not playing anymore. And that kind of came out of nowhere, and it all stems from the name, image, and likeness ruling on July 1st. College players are able to make money. That relates to one of these players, but not both of them. The first one is Quinn Ewers, tied for the best recruit of all time. 24/7 Sports says so. He is in Ohio State now. He's in Columbus, and he will be playing for the Buckeyes this year. And Bryce Griggs, this is a story that just came out a couple days ago. He played for Hightower right here in Houston, and now he'll be signing with Overtime Elite. So one guy goes collegiate and one guy goes professional to a brand new league. So what do you guys think of this whole situation with guys deciding to forgo their high school eligibility and either go to college early and go pro?
So for me personally, I play basketball, and for Bryce Griggs, although I think it is a great thing to be able to go pro, and I mean, obviously take care of your family and just at an early age, just to be able to make that type of money, it's a good thing. But I personally am not sold on the Overtime Elite League just yet, just because I'm not exactly sure how they'll be bringing all the money in. And obviously they offered to pay for tuition after the league is done. And I mean, I believe Bryce Griggs' contract was estimated at $1.2 million, and also for 2 years, because he's not eligible for the draft until he's 19. So he'll either have to do that for the next 2 years, or obviously go overseas, because high school and college is no longer a choice for him. But for Quinn Ewers, I think it's a great thing, because, you know, although you may get to miss out on your senior experiences, which is very tough at times, sometimes high school is just not for people anymore, and they need to move on to bigger and better things.
I agree. I think there's also that component where you never know what's going to happen this senior year. Like, if you get injured, you could lose your scholarship, lose those opportunities. There's just a big what if factor. And so obviously these guys know what they're doing. They have had tough conversations, and they're doing what they think is best for them. And, you know, I've seen Bryce Griggs, play since he was an 8th grader, and he just plays at a completely different level. He's a very talented athlete. I've seen him grow from a young 14-year-old in junior high to this great high school player, and I think he's got a good shot with Overtime. Obviously, there's controversy about it, but I think he knows what's best for him, and the money standpoint is a great factor. And for Ewers, that's a good chance for him to go play, make money from his name, and Ohio State's definitely lucky to have him. He's got a great opportunity there. So I think the argument could go either ways, but I think both these guys have made a good decision for the most part on their own playing.
Yeah, Robert and I had a conversation on one of the last episodes in the first season, and it was about name, image, and likeness, and kind of where that could possibly go. Obviously, that was before the ruling, and the first guy that both of us thought of is Quinn Ewers. When you talk about NIL, he's got the mullet, he plays really fun. He's got the sidearm. He will be the face of college football if this pans out. And he could be in the next couple months. I mean, he's playing for what will be one of the best teams in college football. He may have a chance to play at some point. There's a very slim chance, but he's already racked up a bunch of endorsement deals. A site that he is endorsing broke because he generated so much traffic. This guy's really fun to watch. He's going to be really fun off the field. He's got a big, faith component, and I think that's going to attract a lot of people. So really excited to see what he does. As for Griggs, not a lot of high schoolers are going to turn down $600,000 a year for 2 years. That's $1.2 million. He'll barely be 19 by that point. So to go into the NBA, hopefully a millionaire, is going to be a really great thing for him. Obviously, we don't know what Overtime Elite is going to be like. Hopefully that pans out. It's a new league. You're going to see guys going there. You're going to see guys going to the G League, and NBL over there in Australia is another one. So recruiting has really changed since the last time we were here, not only in basketball, but in football as well. So we've got that part knocked out, and now let's talk about some high school football, because that is what we're here to do in the next couple months. We'll cover a few different sports, but football is what we do. And VYPE recently let out their preseason public football class 6A top 20. Last year, the top two were North Shore and Katy. That is flipped this year. Katy, who won the 6A D2 championship, is now number one. North Shore, who lost a lot of talent, is number two. So we'll start off with this question, guys. Katy lost their district last year. They lost, I believe, the first district game in about 13 years to Tompkins in the middle of the season, to Jalen Milrow and company. And then they went on to win every game, dominated every game in the playoffs. Are they a lock to win the district this year? Is it even going to be close?
For me personally, I think Katy is a lock to win District 19-6A. And despite last year's losing to Tompkins because of the obvious Jalen Milrow and Marquise Shoulders in the offense, and for the defensive side, Colby Huter, excuse me if I pronounced the name wrong, but I just think they're still a lock because, I mean, obviously Coach Gary Joseph's got his track record speaks for himself. And also, despite the quarterback situation, throwing Caleb Kroger, who was basically just thrown into the spotlight as a sophomore last year, he still produced 1,500 yards and I believe 23 touchdowns. And as a sophomore, that's just not heard of. And so I would love to see his progression throughout the year. But also for the defensive side, Jalen Davis graduated last year, which sucks. But I mean, obviously A&M commit Bobby Taylor is coming up, and I just think that he's going to be able to produce this year very well.
Ella, any thoughts on this? I know this Katy district is not exactly in your realm, but it's a big district, and it's going to get a lot of there's going to be a lot of coverage of it from VYPE all year.
Yeah, I'm obviously not an expert, but Katy did beat Shadow Creek in the playoffs last year, so I've seen this team in action. They're definitely hungry for their victories, but I always believe that you can't underestimate a team. If Katy is this good, the trend that we're going to see, I think, is that every team is going to play their absolute best against Katy because they're just as hungry to beat them. Like, they want to take the champs down. So I think that's going to be a big story this year, is if some team is able to overcome that, the Katy Tigers, it's going to be a big deal. And I think we can't underestimate anyone in their district.
Yeah, I think if any team is going to do it this year, it'll be Tompkins again. Make sure to go check out a story that Dennis Silva did on VYPE.com on Cole Francis, who is the new quarterback for Tompkins. I've gotten a chance to see him at a couple camps. He looks really good. The Tompkins team looks amazing, but Katy is a little bit more than amazing. I think they'll go undefeated this year. Playoffs will be a different story though, because I assume they'll be back in 6A D1 based on the way things went last year. So it'll be interesting to see who they match up against. So we noted that Katy was number 1 and North Shore was number 2. North Shore will be without the Ring King, last year's VYPE cover athlete Demetrius Davis, as well as Shadrach Banks, who has had a shaky offseason, has already transferred. So North Shore doesn't have those two players, and their district foes, Beaumont, Westbrook, CE King, Atascocita, and Summer Creek. That's 5 teams that I just mentioned right there, and they're all in the same district. Those other 4 teams seem to have really complete squads. So who has the edge in this district, and who out of these teams won't make it to the playoffs? Because one of those 5 will not make it.
Obviously, I mean, granted, we all know who North Shore is, what they do, and just the way that they can complete the players that come in. Obviously, a lot of players transfer to North Shore just to play for them, and just their development program as a standpoint is very good. But for me personally, I think the one team that's not going to make it is Beaumont Westbrook. I'm not sold on them. Although they are a good, complete team, they had a subpar season last year. They did not break 500, and we obviously got destroyed by CE King. But I'm not going to count them out just yet, because they had close games with Atascocita and they lost by 1 point in overtime. But they also did beat Summer Creek. So it is going to be a toss-up, like you said. But for me personally, I think the first one knocked out is going to be Beaumont Westbrook.
I think North Shore is going to be completely fine this year. They are losing talent, but they are a very talented school. They've got a bunch still left. Like, they're not going to suffer too hard. They're going to have some new leadership, but I think it'll be a good change for them, and to see how they compete with this new structure of a team. And within this district, I do know a little bit about Summer Creek, and I actually think that they might be the weakest in this district right now, because they're lacking offensively. They haven't been able to get good connections between their quarterbacks and their receivers. And I think that without that, they can't compete against these high-level teams like Atascocita and North Shore. Like, they're going to struggle this year. And I think if they can overcome that, they've got a good shot. But I think right now, Summer Creek's going to be the weakest in that district.
Yeah, Ella, I'm going to agree with you there. I think Summer Creek has some really talented players. Kelvin Banks Jr. is one of them, who was on the 2021 VYPE football preview. Make sure to get one of those magazines, and all of our coverage that goes along with it. But yeah, a lot of star players in this district. North Shore is stacked. They'll be stacked forever. I kept mentioning that they lost talent, but man, they still have a lot there. Chris Ross, Denver Harris, Ty Leonard. The team is stacked. They'll win the district. CE King, I think, will be second. I think they're going to take another big step. I've already gotten a chance to see them this year. And I think depending on what Bryce Anderson does for Westbrook this year, they could make a big push as well. So yeah, I'm going to say Summer Creek will struggle in the regular season, probably lose at least 3 of those games, maybe all 4 of them in district. We'll just see how it goes. You can lose 3 district games there and still be sitting pretty in the playoffs. So definitely the best district that we're going to preview today, and maybe the best one in the state. Definitely the biggest name players in that one. Klein Kane, ranked 19, probably would have been ranked a lot higher if their star player Jaden Blue had not decided to forego his senior year to focus on academics and focus on leadership and preparing to head to the University of Texas next year. But they've still got a really talented team. They're a top 20 team in the Houston area, according to VYPE. Are they going to be able to fulfill these expectations, though? Because they do have some talented players. A lot of teams, are going to have a lot of, depth, and Klein Kane does, but they're losing the best running back in the state. And it's as simple as that. Are they going to be able to, to really rebound from this and find a guy that's going to lead them to a good season?
So for me personally, although Jaden Blue leaving, I don't think that we can count him out. Obviously, the Klein Kane and Brisbane game will be going on the 28th with the big ESPN coverage. You got Matthew Golden, Carson Roper, obviously Connor Wigman for Brisbane. But I don't think that we could count out Klein Kane just yet because, I mean, with Carson Roper and Matthew Golden playing together, obviously Matthew Golden committing to TCU, he still had an amazing year last year, despite losing touches to Jaden Blue. So I think when you combine Jaden Blue's touches and basically give them most of them to Matthew Golden and allowing Carson Roper to play freely without having to run the ball as much, I think Matthew Golden and Carson Roper will just have a good year. Obviously, Jaden Blue does bring a lot of versatility to the offense because he can catch, but I don't think that we can count him out just yet.
Yeah, there might be a bit of a mental block at the beginning of the season. I think losing a star running back like that could have a bit of a mental effect to the team. But as the season progresses, I think Klein Cade's going to work it out. They're going to become the star team, especially with Golden and the leadership that he will bring to the team. That losing Blue, you might see a difference in the very beginning of the season. But with time, Klein Kane will work it out and they will recover and rebound from that and be the team that the area expects them to be.
Yeah, I was able to see what Klein Kane had done in the offseason, kind of preparing to lose Jaden Blue. They had a great 7-on-7 squad, obviously. It's much different from what we'll see in a couple of weeks. But Carson Roper looks great. Matthew Golden is one of the best receivers in the state, no matter what anyone says. Just can outlast almost any defensive back that I've seen so far. So I think this is going to be a really good team. Not so sure how they'll do in the playoffs. They will make it. It's going to be there's going to be some really good teams this year, and it's going to be a lot harder than it was last year. The class of 23 is really going to start to shine, and they've already proved to be really good. And now let's go ahead and hand it down to our interview for this week. All right, now I am here with the Woodlands QB out of the class of 2024, Mabry Mettauer. Mabry, you have had an incredible past few months. How are you feeling right now?
I mean, it's unbelievable, to be honest. I never knew recruiting was going to start this early for me. It's always been a dream, but it started. So it's been really cool to see how things work because I saw it work with my brother. So it's been really cool to see that. Yeah,
you kind of just popped on the scene for a lot of the mainstream Texas high school football people. I heard about you in the beginning of June, right when camp started up. And then it was just like you were the only thing people were hearing about. You had an offer in February from Georgia Tech. So I'm sure you knew things were going to kind of get started a little earlier than you expected, like you said. And then these camps start and the offers just keep coming in. So Louisiana Monroe, Kansas State, and then you get LSU on the spot at a camp. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you go to that LSU camp. There's some of the best talent in the country. Take me through that whole few days there and what your conversations were with the coaches.
So I was coming from the SME mega camp and I was debating if I was going to go to the TCU camp or the LSU camp. And my coach, because I was going to go to the LSU camp later in that month, but my coach persuaded me to go with like some of our teammates to throw to. And so we like changed our mind right on the spot. We went to LSU. We were doing the camp. They treated me really well. Like Coach O came up to me, talked to me. And then Coach Pete was like shocked I was there because he thought I was coming later in that of the month. And then I started working out. And then towards like the middle of it, they pull me aside like when everyone's on a break or in the middle of the field. And they start talking to me. And then Coach O and Coach Pete were like, we're going to offer you. And I was shocked. I was like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm sure that's, unbelievable. You have, like I said, a few offers under your belt at that point. But SEC, LSU, I mean, that's just something every kid dreams of.
Yes,
so I'm sure it was just surreal. And then you get Texas Tech later in the month. So kind of take me through that whole month. I know you were real busy and you had a, super busy summer even after that.
So I got Texas Tech like 2 or 3 days after. And I was just laying in bed, and then they called my coach. My coach texted me. And I was like, oh, shoot. And then so I called the Texas Tech coach. Like, they've been following me like follow me on Twitter and stuff, and I like inboxed them on my film. And then I think they saw me at a camp at like somewhere in Houston, because it was like a mega camp, like a little mega camp. And I guess they saw me there, and then I just kind of went off from there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know that HBU camp very early on, a lot of offers came out of that. Like you said, SMU's 2 huge camps. A lot of guys got some great showcase, and obviously you were one of them. So earlier on, you mentioned your brother, McCade, who played for the Woodlands and now plays for Cal Berkeley. What advice has he given you in these last few months?
Just stay humble and don't let anything get to you. Don't let like the hype get to you, because that can go away like that, and just play your best on the field.
Yeah, obviously, if you're getting comparisons to Trevor Lawrence every other second, it's hard to stay humble, but you're doing a great job. And not only has McCade been through this, but your parents have been through it already. And they've gone through this whole, process of being recruited. Do you think that's given you an advantage to, they kind of coach you on how to talk to programs?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, while that was happening with my brother, I'd like listen in on some of the conversations just to like see what he was saying, and I've kind of like done the same, like implied it with when I talk to other coaches. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know playing at the Woodlands is something the guys from that area really dream of from a young age. Were you one of those kids and big fan since you were young?
Yeah, so like in 4th grade, well, whenever my brother was a freshman, he was on varsity, and he was one of 3 at the time, like to go on varsity as a freshman. And then I had that goal in my mirror for the longest time until I got to my freshman year, and it happened. And so I got to cross it off my mirror. And I was like, that was like one of my biggest goals at that time. And I just keep making bigger goals after that one.
Yeah, that's just awesome. So you come in your freshman year. It's such a weird year. There's restrictions. There's so many things that are really holding you back. And then you get to play in your freshman year. You said about 50-50 in some of the games, maybe a third. Take me through that entire year and how you kind of adjusted to COVID and everything that went along with it.
Well, so I think COVID helped me out a lot, because I was like transitioning to play quarterback. Like I kind of started in 8th grade and 9th grade, like really the year I played quarterback. And COVID helped me a lot. I was training every day, like 2 to 3 times a day. And then once that football season came, I was ready to go. I had Sean Salisbury, which is one of my quarterback coaches, and we would watch like film of the other team just in case like I was going to be put on the field. And that finally happened. So preparation equals success, as my mom would say. I was ready. And the first pass I ever threw was against Grand Oaks, and it was a 54-yard pass in the air for a touchdown. And then I was 100% completion rate until the playoffs.
You've got all the measurables, 100% completion rate until the playoffs. That's not as close as you can get to perfect. That is perfect. So you've got the stats and you've got the actual measurables. You're 6'6". You're maybe the tallest quarterback in all of Texas high school football right now. How do you think that's helped you, and how do you think it's hurt you?
I mean, I don't really think it's hurt me, but like I feel like it's definitely given me an advantage, because my O-line is so tall. Like it's literally, I feel like it's a college O-line, because we have Caden Strachey, who's 6'8". He's committed to Baylor. Then we have his brother that plays on the other side. And then we have my cousin, which his name's Cross. He's like 6'3", like 330. Our whole line averages over 300 pounds. So like it's definitely given me advantage being able to see over everybody.
Yeah, that's incredible. You guys, seems like you've developed a great relationship with each other. The Sirakis are really fun guys to be around.
Yeah.
What can you say about them? And even at the photo shoot a couple months at Sam Houston State, all of you guys were having a lot of fun. So what can you say about the chemistry?
Bro, me and Colton, which is like one of my best friends, we went to the same elementary. So like we've been like family friends forever. And my other cousin, which is Cross's brother, was on the O-line last year, and so I got to play with him. So it's just been like a big family atmosphere on the field. And like they always had my back when people were talking trash to me and stuff. So it was really cool.
Yeah, we know the Woodlands is a big family that, like I said, that it's just a great community over there. And now you're looking forward to a pretty big season. A lot of people know your name, obviously a lot more than the people that did last year. and you're going to start off with some huge non-district games: Lamar, Bridgeland, and Katy. So two of those games, some other high-profile quarterbacks. What kind of pressure do you feel with those three games?
I mean, I don't really feel any pressure. All I need to do really is just outplay them. That's my goal, to just compete my hardest and just work the hardest on the field when I'm there. And that goes for any game I play.
Absolutely. I think you talked about the preparation and everything you've been putting in. So these are games where you're going to be the underdog. Maybe not Lamar, but definitely Bridgeland and Katy. So what can you say about a team in the Woodlands who is generally a powerhouse that is going to be coming in as an underdog against some of these teams? You know, why do you think that makes this team even more driven and you know, so passionate?
I think like all of our guys on our team, we're like brothers. So like once we get on the field, like we don't feel like the underdog. Like in the locker room when we're all talking about it, and we hear like all these comments about how we're gonna be the underdog, we don't let that get to us. But we're just gonna work our hardest and try to compete the other team.
Yeah, well, you've got a great shot of doing that this year. You're in a tough district though. VYPE has already previewed District 13 6A. There's a lot of great teams, and there's another great quarterback from your class. Derek Lagway goes to Willis. Have you had any conversations with him? Are you familiar with him at all? What's your relationship?
I've met him a few times, but I haven't really talked to him. Like we follow each other on social media, but we haven't had like big conversations. But I know who he is.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to that Woodlands Willis game late in the season in the district matchup. I'm sure it'll have some playoff implications, and you know,
Sure.
it's going to be a great game. You've got a lot of great games on the schedule. So what have some of your teammates told you about? I know you've played a little bit in varsity, but what have they told you about those high pressure situations in big games like that?
What the O-line has told me, they said they like me in the backfield behind them because like I feel confident when I'm on the field, and they like having like a confident quarterback. So like I don't really feel like I'm too young to play, if you know what I mean. Like I know like what's gonna happen, like I know what can happen and stuff like that.
That's great. Well, you're looking forward to a great season. What is your personal goal for you, and then what is your main goal for the team this year?
My personal goal for me is beat the district record, which is like 398 passing yards, and I want to try to throw for 500 plus. And then I want to throw for 4,500 yards this year. And then my team goal is to go to state and then win district.
Win district and go to state. The Woodlands has done that quite a few times in their history. You're playing for a historically great team, like I've said. So why do you think this team, this 2021 team, can go to state and possibly win it?
I think we got a lot of good weapons on the field. Like on defense, we have Bradley Warren, we have Evan Dubin, Ethan Winfield, and then on offense, we have a great receivers. We have Ben Ferguson, which y'all know. We have Patrick Rabel, and then we have Branson McShaffrey, and then we have a great O-line. So I think we're going to be able to fight through those hard situations on the field.
Yeah, you've got all those guys, and they've got some guy named Mabry Mettauer. So I think the Woodlands will be in good hand this year. We wish you all the best luck, and hope to talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I just got done a few minutes ago with the interview with Mabry Mettauer, and we mentioned how he brought up all of his teammates and really has developed a great relationship with a lot of those guys. A few minutes after we finished this interview, he told me that he wanted to make sure that one of his receivers, Camden Cash, was mentioned. He says that Camden Cash is one of the best route runners that they have, and he is looking forward to playing with him this season. To be honest, I think that says a lot about this guy's relationships with his teammates and the leadership that he's already showing from such a young age. Class of 2024, he's only a sophomore this year. He's already played some varsity ball. We are so pumped to see what Mabry Mctower does this season. All right, well, we want to thank our guest once again for coming on the show, and we will have an interview just about every week here with some of the top talent in Texas. So we're going to close out this show with a few questions for the two of you guys, and I'll answer them as well. So Westlake and Katy, were the 6A champions last year. Of course, Westlake in D1, Katy in D2, and they separate those at the end of the year when the playoffs are coming up. So not knowing who's going to be D1 and D2, who do you guys think will take home the trophies this year?
So for me personally, obviously in D1, I think with Klubenig coming back to Westlake, and I just think it's going to be very, and obviously with South Lake Carroll losing Ewers, I think it's going to be very hard for anybody to beat Westlake. Obviously, if Katy gets put up in D1, they'll give them a good game because obviously demolishing Cedar Hill last year, 51-14. I'm not sure that anyone could really beat Westlake like that. And obviously, you got Duncanville who got knocked out in semifinals. But like I said, for me personally, I'm going to have to take Westlake. And obviously, it's going to be a gamble with either Katy going D1 or D2. If they end up going D2 again, I'm going to have to take Katy.
Yeah, I think Westlake might be undisputable here, but I wouldn't count out Duncanville or even North Shore. I think that you never know what's going to happen in those late games when people are that hungry for a title. And D2's up in the air. If Katy's there again, it'll probably be them, but it's just, you never know. But I think Duncanville, Westlake, and North Shore, as well as Katy, I think those are the 4 names that we'll be hearing a lot for those final games.
Yeah, we'll go unanimous. Westlake D1. I told someone a couple weeks ago, I don't think they'll win a game by less than 20 points this year, at least in the regular season. We'll see how it goes in the playoffs. If you think they were good last year, just wait until you see the roster that they have this year. They're the best team in the state. They could go up against just about anyone in the country, I think. So they'll win D1. D2, I think we're going to have a champion from the Houston area, and that will be Spring. So Spring is coming out of nowhere this year. Bishop Davenport committed to Utah State. He's their quarterback, Gerard Henderson. This is a great team. I think they're the most underrated team in the state. And I think they'll just, like I said, come out of nowhere and go ahead and win a state championship, 6A D2, especially if D1 is a little bit heavier than D2 and Katy ends up going D1, which I assume they will. We'll see how it turns out. So leading to this now, Spring is a team that's going to surprise me, but even more so, I think there's going to be some teams that come out of nowhere even more. And there's a lot of programs that are really developing, a lot of new schools right now. So what's a team that you guys think will surprise everyone this year?
Obviously, we had talked about it prior, but Ella's school, I think Shadow Creek, they did win 5A state 2 years back, but bumping up to 6A was a bit of a struggle with them, obviously dealing with Kyron Jones' injury and him end up going to school, graduating. I think they're still going to surprise us because, I mean, with Duke Butler coming up, the rising junior, he impressed me very well. And just overall watching him play against Bridgeland last year and getting into the spotlight, throwing in, not knowing if Kyron was going to play or not. And he still produced and almost beat Bridgeland last year, which ended up going to the very deep in the playoffs and losing to Rockwall Heath. So for me personally, I think Shadow Creek, you can't count them out.
Yeah, I agree. Shadow Creek after a disappointing season, I think we've got a pretty good chance at getting far this year. But I think Katy Tompkins might surprise people. Like, obviously they're supposed to be pretty good, but if they can, they'll most likely come out second in that district behind Katy. And if they can go far in playoffs, I think they'll surprise people. And you never know, you might see them in state if they can take out a good Katy team, which is unlikely, but you just never know.
Yeah, you really never know how things are going to turn out this season. But I'll stay in the same district that Ashton was in 6A23, the one that Ella and I are, as I go to Strake Jesuit. A-Leaf Hastings, a team that is generally not good and one of, if not the lowest team in that district. I think they're going to make a big push this year. They might even make the playoffs. If Shadow Creek will, then so will Pearland and Pearland Dawson. It's going to be really a fight for those 3 and 4 spots in that district. Hastings has got some great talent. David Oakey is a name that comes to mind. So we'll see how that turns out for them. And I think that'll kind of finish the episode for this week. This was episode 1. So if you had excitement, from this one, we're so pumped for just a full great season. We'll be in the studio sometimes to bring you some live episodes. Ashton, Ella, what are your thoughts on just this whole year and what we're going to be able to do?
Just overall, I really appreciate y'all having me. Obviously, this being one of my first outings with VYPE, but I'm just super pumped because obviously with football this year and Jaden Blue, Quinn Ewers, all those guys leaving, and even basketball with Bryce Griggs, you just never know because some of the top guys are all gone. So I think it's going to be an exciting, and I think it's going to be an impressive year this year. I just really appreciate y'all.
Same. I'm excited for this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially during this football season with such new teams coming around. I'm also excited to get some volleyball in here. That's my specialty along with football. And, with season kicking off, there's a bunch of teams that are doing better than expected and some that aren't performing as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of that and talk about that a little bit on the podcast. But I'm really excited for season 2. It's going to be a great year of sports without COVID just lingering over everybody. We're starting to get back to normal. So I'm excited to cover some more great high school sports with y'all.
Well, I think our tagline this year should just be you never know, because that's what we've said already quite a few times in this episode. The Texas high school sports game is really unpredictable right now. It's going to be so fun to cover. Next week, we'll have another special guest. We will preview some more of the top 20 teams in Houston, and we'll cover some volleyball. So for Ashton Lux, Rel Hestan, I'm Will Turboff, and we'll see you next week.